A family of 4 vanished without a trace on their way to church one Sunday morning. For 3 agonizing weeks, their loved ones searched desperately, praying for a miracle. When police finally found them, the truth was more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Their captor wasn't a stranger. He was someone who saw them every single day, someone who smiled at them, someone they trusted. This is the story of the Hendersons and the coworker whose jealousy turned into something unspeakable. Before we begin, if this story moves you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stories like these need to be told, and your support helps us bring them to light. Now, let's go back to where it all started. September 17th, 2023. Millbrook. The alarm went off at 7:15 a.m. in the Henderson household, like it did every Sunday morning. Sarah Henderson, 34 years old, reached over and silenced it before it could wake her husband, Marcus. She liked these quiet moments before the chaos began, before their 2 kids, Emma and Lucas, would bound into their room asking what was for breakfast. Sarah had been a nurse at Millbrook General for 8 years. Marcus worked as an operations manager at Kensington Manufacturing, a mid-size factory on the edge of town. They were the kind of family you'd see and think, they've got it figured out. Emma was 9, bright, curious, obsessed with collecting rocks she found in the backyard. Lucas was 6, all energy, all the time. The kid who couldn't sit still through dinner, but could tell you every dinosaur name like he'd known them personally. That morning, Sarah made pancakes. Marcus ironed his shirt for church. He was particular about looking presentable, even though he'd argued with Sarah the night before that maybe they could skip this week. She'd given him that look, the one that said, "We're going, and you know it." At 9:42 a.m., they loaded into their silver Honda CR-V. Emma climbed into the back seat with her collection of smooth stones in a small velvet pouch. Lucas brought his toy T-Rex, the one missing an arm that he refused to replace because, as he'd explained to anyone who'd listen, dinosaurs got hurt too. Sarah adjusted the rear-view mirror. Marcus turned the key. The drive to Riverside Baptist Church was 12 minutes on a good day. They'd made this trip hundreds of times, past the hardware store where Marcus bought supplies for their half-finished deck, past the elementary school where Emma had learned to read, past the coffee shop where Sarah met her sister every other Thursday. At 9:47 a.m., Marcus pulled out of their driveway. The neighbor, Mrs. Chen, waved from her garden. Sarah waved back. That was the last time anyone saw them. When the Hendersons didn't show up to church, their pastor, Reverend Michael Torres, didn't think much of it at first. Families missed services. Kids got sick. Cars broke down. But when Sarah's sister, Jennifer, called the house at noon and got no answer, something felt wrong. Jennifer had a key to their house. She'd watered their plants last summer when they went to Cape Cod. When she let herself in that afternoon, everything looked normal. Too normal. The breakfast dishes were still in the sink. Emma's backpack sat by the door, packed for school the next day. Marcus's coffee mug sat on the counter, still half full. But their phones? All 4 of them went straight to voicemail. Jennifer called the police at 2:33 p.m. Officer David Ramirez took the initial report. He'd been on the force for 6 years, long enough to know that most missing persons cases resolved themselves within 24 hours. Misunderstandings, dead phones, arguments that led to someone staying at a hotel. But something about Jennifer's voice made him pay attention. She was going to church, she kept saying.
But
they were just going
Rachel
to church.
Caught it.
By evening, when the Hendersons still hadn't returned, the Millbrook Police Department issued a silver alert. The Honda CR-V's license plate went out to every patrol unit in a 50-mile radius. At the church, Reverend Torres walked through the parking lot with a flashlight,
but
even though he knew it was irrational.
I guess.
He checked behind the building, in the prayer garden, near the donation
Detective
bins.
Ortiz ran his name.
By Monday
37
morning,
years old,
the story
single,
hit local news.
lived in a rental property
Family
on
of
the
4
outskirts of
missing
Millbrook.
after leaving for
No
Sunday
criminal
service.
record except a speeding
Sarah's
ticket
colleagues
from
at the
2019.
hospital were in shock.
But when
She'd
she
never
looked at
missed
his
a shift
social
without
media,
calling.
sparsely
She'd worked through
used,
snowstorms,
mostly private,
through migraines,
there was something
through the
about
flu.
his photos
She
that
was the nurse
unsettled
who
her.
stayed late to hold the
Pictures
hand of scared
himself
patients.
at the manufacturing
the one who
plant.
remembered everyone's
Pictures of the operations manager's office. Pictures that seemed to document Marcus's workspace with unusual detail. On September 25th, 8 days after the disappearance, Detective Ortiz visited Derek Flynn's apartment. He answered the door in a flannel shirt and jeans, average height, thinning hair, the kind of face you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting. "Mr. Flynn, I'm Detective Ortiz. I'm investigating the disappearance of the Henderson family. I understand you worked with Marcus Henderson." Derek's expression didn't change. "Yeah? Terrible what happened. You think something bad?" "We're exploring all possibilities. Can I ask where you were Sunday, September 17th? "Home. I don't really go anywhere on Sundays." "Anyone who can verify that?" Derek shrugged. "I live alone." Rachel handed him her card. "If you think of anything that might help, please call." As she walked back to her car, she felt it. That detective's instinct that couldn't be quantified or explained. Something about Derek Flynn wasn't right. But without evidence, instinct meant nothing. While Detective Ortiz was interviewing Derek Flynn, the Henderson family was 12 miles away. They were alive, but they were in hell. The place Derek had brought them was a hunting cabin, abandoned, isolated, purchased under a shell company his cousin had set up years ago for tax purposes. The cabin sat on 43 acres of dense Pennsylvania forest. No neighbors, no road noise, no one to hear them scream. That first day, September 17th, had unfolded like a nightmare in slow motion. Marcus had been driving when he saw Derek standing on the side of County Road 19, waving his arms. The hood of Derek's truck was up, smoke billowing from the engine. Sarah had said, "That's someone from your work, isn't it?" Marcus nodded. "We should stop." It was such a small decision, such a normal impulse. Help a coworker. When Marcus pulled over, Derek approached the window with a smile. "Man, thank God, I think my radiator's blown." Marcus got out. "You need a jump, or?" That's when Derek pulled the gun. It had happened so fast, Sarah screaming, Emma and Lucas frozen in the back seat. Derek's voice, calm, almost apologetic. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I need you to drive. Just drive where I tell you." He'd forced them down back roads, deeper into the woods, until they reached the cabin. He'd duct-taped their hands, locked them in a windowless room that might have once been a storage area. The floor was concrete. The walls were bare wood. There was a bucket in the corner, one blanket, a single LED lantern. For the first 3 days, none of them spoke much. Emma cried silently, her face pressed against Sarah's shoulder. Lucas kept asking, "When are we going home?" until Marcus gently told them they needed to be quiet. Derek brought them food once a day, sandwiches, water bottles. Sometimes he'd stand in the doorway and just stare at them. On the 4th day, he spoke. "I worked there for 9 years, Derek said, looking directly at Marcus. 9 years. I trained people. I fixed problems no one else could fix. And they gave you my job." Marcus, his voice hoarse, replied, "Derek, please. Whatever you're upset about, we can talk to George. We can fix this." "Fix this?" Derek's voice cracked. "You can't fix this. You took everything. You took my future. Do you know what it's like to watch someone else get what you deserve?" Sarah, holding both kids close, said quietly, "We have children, Derek. Please, they're innocent." Something flickered in Derek's eyes. Shame? Guilt? But it disappeared as quickly as it came. I know they are." He left and locked the door. The days blurred together. Sarah counted them by marking tiny
Running her
scratches on the
fingers over
wall
them
with
like
a
a
nail
prayer.
she'd found in the corner.
When she finally
1,
spoke, the first
2,
thing she said was,
5,
I thought
10.
we'd never see the sun
Marcus
again.
tried to keep everyone's spirits up.
Lucas had
He
nightmares.
told Lucas stories.
Still does. He sees Derek's face in the dark. But he's in therapy now. So is Emma. So are Marcus and Sarah. Derek Flynn was charged with 4 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of unlawful imprisonment, assault, and weapons violations. His trial lasted 3 weeks. He showed no emotion throughout. No remorse, no explanation beyond, he took what was mine. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 65 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Marcus testified at the sentencing hearing. He spoke about the nights he'd held his children in that cold room, promising them they'd go home, even when he'd stopped believing it himself. He spoke about the sound of Emma crying in her sleep, about Lucas asking if they'd done something wrong, if that's why the bad man took them. You didn't just take 3 weeks of our lives, Marcus said, his voice steady but his hands trembling. You took our sense of safety, our ability to trust. My son won't sleep without a light on. My daughter won't ride in cars without asking if we're going somewhere safe. My wife wakes up screaming. He paused, looking directly at Derek. But you didn't break us. We're still here. We're still a family, and we'll heal in ways you'll never understand because you don't know what love is. Sarah chose not to testify. She told Rachel later, I don't need to speak to him. He's nothing to me now. But she did speak to the press, once, 3 months after their rescue. People keep asking me how we survived, Sarah said. The truth is, we survived because we had each other. In that room, in the dark, we held on. Marcus told stories, Emma hummed songs, Lucas made us laugh even when there was nothing to laugh about. We survived because we were together. She wiped her eyes. And we survived because people like Detective Ortiz didn't stop looking. To anyone watching this, if someone you love goes missing, don't give up.